back to the book again. This chapter was all about homework. And what was really enlightening and interesting was that when you use the word homework and you ask the teacher, you ask the students who they're doing the homework for, they'll all respond that they're doing it for the teacher, which is interesting because all of us assign homework as a way to help the student, but they perceive it as a way to do something for the teacher or check a box. So that was really interesting. Other interesting thing was that if you rebrand it as the word practice, you still have the same results. So whether you call it homework or practice, what you end up with are kind of like four different categories of kids. Kids that don't do it. The majority of them don't even attempt it because they feel like they can't do it and they don't know what's going on. So it's a lack of understanding component to it that causes them to feel that way, which is really sad because that's who I'm gearing homework for. There's a group of kids that don't do it because they just don't have time because they've got a ton of commitments and a lot of other things happening in their lives. There's a group of kids that will do the homework, but basically only attempt the questions they can mimic, which are questions that you've done examples that are similar to, so they can just kind of like copy word for word. There are kids that will cheat their way through it and do a lot of really creative things, from like sharing the workload with other friends, sharing binders. If you're in different sections of the same teacher, same course, then they'll just pass a binder back and forth. This is like amplified when you do homework for marks. So about 25% of your kids will cheat on their homework. And that is done primarily because it's mark-based. And if you take away marks on homework, then your cheating disappears. But you still don't get a lot of kids doing the work to actually learn. And so to get the kids to actually learn, they did a lot of different playing around with language, a lot of playing around with different types of questions, when to assign it. And what they ended up finding is if you call them check your understanding questions, then that's when you got the best results. So anywhere from 75 to 85% of kids would attempt the questions and try them and think about them. And there's a couple conditions there to make that work, though. One, you cannot assign marks to it, nor check homework ever. It has to be a for students thing. And so you will still have a group of kids that won't do their work, but the group will be less. And then when the kids do their work, that group will be bigger, because the cheaters will actually attempt the work. The mimickers will actually attempt the work. And so then instead of mimicking and cheating, the kids will actually attempt them and try them on their own because they feel safe. One practice that I'm going to have to do differently is I have always kind of not given answers because I wanted to encourage collaboration and I wanted them to share amongst their peers. So I didn't give out answer keys on purpose because I wanted them to reach out to other people in the room to share and continue that conversation outside of class. The actual reality is what you should be doing is giving them answers, but answers as in like X equals 7. So don't give them like full solutions and stuff like that to compare to, because then that'll promote mimicking. So what you want to do is give a bank of questions. And then with that bank of questions, which we refer to as check your understanding questions, then you would give answer key at the bottom. And then you can give full solutions to those questions, ideally a day or two or even 3 later. So the kids attempt them first on their own, and then they can go back and look at them later. Just to build on this idea, I have moved away from like homework and more consolidating your learning. And so I actually have I'm going to use the check your understanding questions and make that a category. And then I have a secondary category of like videos to watch, or like resources, like online textbooks, online like resources that kind of explain. So if kids are looking for that, especially when we didn't hand out hard copies of textbooks, if they're looking for like digital resources explaining stuff, then I have that section. And then the last section would then be other like information that you might need about it. So whether it's like a at-home lab you could do to supplement your learning, or a bunch of other things. So that's kind of how I'm going to organize my stuff when I hand them out this year, is I'll have like a weekly online kind of, this is where we're at. And for each day, I'll have a check your understanding question section, an additional resources section, and some hands-on sections, kind of where I'm going to head. So that was the big one for homework. Was homework's great, but to get the best out of your homework, you need to change it, and don't call it practice, because everyone knows that practice is actually just homework masked in disguise. So if you use check your understanding as your language, and make sure you never use it to penalize kids or monitor kids or anything like that, then you'll have actually the best success and the best learning, and the homework will be then for learning.